Hello, this is for the second Sunday of Epiphany, 17th of January, and the readings are 1 Samuel chapter 3 from verse 1 and John's Gospel chapter 1 from verse 43. Are you a good listener? I don't just mean quick on the uptake, but can you listen long, really listen and focus on people and to hear what they're saying, not just in the words, but between the words and behind the words and in the silences? We have an old adage for children, don't we? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. But I wonder how many of us adults keep to that. Clergy are expected, even assumed at times, to be good listeners. Not sure my wife would agree with that, especially if there's good music or the cricket on the radio. And I've met plenty of clergy who like the sound of their own voices. There's a prayer that brings me back to the ministry of listening, and it is a ministry. Let me be open to your word, not distracted in my listening. And let's face it, we have faced lots of distractions these days. The famous story in 1 Samuel about the boy Samuel hearing the voice of God calling him by name in the night in the temple in Shiloh is all about listening. And of course, it's on the 3rd time that God calls Samuel that Eli, the old priest, realizes that God is calling him and gives Samuel those famous words to say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." And from then on, the writer effectively tells us that Samuel is close to God and becomes a great prophet in his name. In John's Gospel, Philip eagerly finds his good friend Nathanael and tells him all about Jesus. But Nathanael at first is really rather dismissive because, of course, Jesus is from that hick town Nazareth. What good can come from there? Yet perhaps because he trusts his friend Philip, he goes with him and he meets with Jesus. And something about what Jesus says makes him realise that Jesus is the real deal, as Philip says. The idea that Nathanael was sitting under a fig tree, which sounds quite odd to us, is actually Jesus recognising that Nathanael is a true Israelite who meditates on the scriptures under a fig tree, as it says in the book of the prophet Micah. And then the last strange words of Jesus about the heavens opening and the angels ascending and descending on the Son of Man gives us an idea of the passage perhaps that Nathanael was meditating on under the fig tree. The famous story of Jacob running away and having a dream as he lies down of a ladder connecting earth and heaven and angels ascending and descending on it. And Jesus is effectively saying to Nathanael, you've met the real link between earth and heaven here in me. And it's because he's been heard and seen and understood that Nathanael decides to follow Jesus as Philip does. Nathanael meditating on the scriptures leads him in a roundabout way to recognising who Jesus is. And we too need to be prepared just to sit with the scriptures and be with God. Just try to listen. And that's the hardest part of prayer, it really is. I don't find it easy at all. Reminds me of the words of Bishop Stephen about the Samuel story. We often turn the line round and say, "Listen, Lord, for your servant is speaking," because we can easily say words to God, but can we listen? Can anything good come out of Kelvedon and Fearing? Well, I'm sure it does and will continue to do so, but it may depend quite a bit on our ability to be open with each other, really to listen to each other, despite and through this pandemic, to listen to each other and to listen to God, and then to respond accordingly. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. Amen.